Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the concepts of beauty, and this could be physical beauty as in how we perceive other human beings, or beauty in the sense of great paintings and art, or great architecture. It could be the beauty we see in nature, looking at the ocean or the forest, or looking at the moon and the stars, things like that. So it can be beauty in sort of any context or setting. But beauty in the sense of, or well, at least in terms of physical beauty and any achievement throughout history that may be totally or fully or primarily associated with white people, is under attack. There's an absolute unrelenting assault on anything white people have achieved, and it's a lot, and it is a lot that white people have achieved. Therefore, the attacks and the unrelenting nature of the attacks is in direct proportion to all the achievements that they're trying to tear down. It's very sad when this has to happen, that people have to tear down or think they need to tear down the past in order to create a future that, as they would see it, is somehow going to be better than the past. The past has certainly in white society, has grown organically over the centuries. And in terms of human development, it's about as good as it's going to get in any organic sense. Now we can create alleged utopias where everybody must conform or die, and somehow we tell ourselves that that's going to be a better future. But some may disagree. But coming back to this idea of beauty and dealing with sort of physical beauty, I guess in the first instance, because there's a lot of I put in beauty just as a search and online, and it had, I would say, 80 to 85% black women, 10 to 15% Asian, and somewhere between 3 to 5% white women. Now, this is in a white country, so a country that's primarily white anyway, and that would seem, now if we go on sort of world proportion of populations, 15% should be white, say 28% black, then there should be Indians, representing 20%, and Chinese, or Asians 30%. That it should be sort of roughly proportional to those numbers. So they're not attempting to reflect the world population, and they're not attempting to reflect the local population. So we can only reasonably assume that it's propaganda. Now there are some quite a number of quite attractive black women on this sort of, it's like headshots and that sort of thing. But really, I hardly ever see black women who are that good looking. I mean, there's a few around, but gee whiz, I'd be hard pressed. I can't say off the top of my head I've actually met many. But nonetheless, so what we can safely say about this is the social media companies and so on are attempting to change our attitudes and views without our consent and without informing us as to what beauty must be. Now, the idea is that beauty is purely a social construct and nothing else. So let's deal with that. I suppose a couple of things. Firstly, there was a clothing modeling show that was being put on by a very left-leaning county council in one of the Australian cities, and I was walking by at the time, and I hadn't known it was on, but I was walking by at the time, and there was a band, and it was bigger than Ben-Hur. And I looked at the guy that was coming out of the change, like a change room or change shed or whatever you call it, and he was coming out wearing, a casual suit of some sort, and he had hair red hair that looked like straw. It was really weird. I don't think I've seen hair like that. But his half, if not more, of his face was covered with those sort of blood red birthmarks. It was covering like half his face, and it was going down his neck and even onto his hands and that sort of thing. So that's quite a severe handicap. I don't think that would be helpful to him pursuing his goals in life. But the council had chosen him to be one of their fashion models on the catwalk. Now, you might say, what are you doing? Well, what are these idiots doing? But it's a very left-wing perception. The only reason you don't think that guy isn't beautiful is because you've been socially conditioned to think he's not beautiful, and really that's just a manifestation of fascism. I mean, if you don't think that the guy or the girls that came out, if you don't think they're beautiful, they're not handicapped. If they're not beautiful, then you're a damn fascist Nazi. You could very well be Hitler. That's it. You could very well be Hitler because of this. So the girls were coming out, and some of them in sort of bathing costumes. Now these would have been size 24 or something. These were very big and young girls who shouldn't have been that. Girls in their early to mid 20s who shouldn't have been that big, for goodness sakes. And various other sort of handicaps. There was one I couldn't believe they did this. There's a woman who'd obviously been in a fire, and her face was horribly disfigured from the fire, and you could see sort of where there'd been skin grafts and things like that to try and sort of patch it up as much as they could. But she was in a bad way. Half her nose was there and half the lip was missing, and this and that. It was difficult to look at other than in sort of morbid fascination. And they put her up on the catwalk as a fucking model. I mean, seriously. So it's a very left-wing gig, very left-wing play, and that are funded by the NGOs that are controlled by the globalists. So it's part of the wider globalist play to disrupt and divide and fuck up Western society and Western social bonds that we have. Now, coming on to the sort of the idea of beauty, that it's been socially conditioned, I suppose there's an element of that. I mean, they would argue that, look at all the skinny white skinny young girls that were always part of the international marketing campaigns for things like clothing and cosmetics and so on. Now, the argument is that makes women feel bad because they look at these young girls and everything and say, oh, well, I don't look like that, therefore I'm not included in society. And that was never what it was about. They're always meant to be this impossible ideal, and only a tiny number of women would ever sort of meet that. And by the way, I've sort of met quite well paid fashion models, and just because someone's photogenic and scrubs up well in the cosmetic adverts doesn't mean they look much good in reality. And I had many years ago, I had dinner with one of these quite well-known fashion models who was dating a well-known like a TV talking head news announcer, and so we're at the dinner together, and we were sitting down first with a couple of other people, and he mentioned she was going. I was all quite excited. Oh wow, I'm going to meet the famous fashion model. And this woman came along and sat down, and I didn't even really recognize it was her. She looked so different, with the makeup on and the camera angles and the lighting and all this sort of stuff. I mean, you wouldn't know it was that person. I mean, seriously. So beauty and someone being photogenic or being able to be made up to look photogenic for a commercial or an advert or something, that's different again from actual physical beauty sort of right in front of you. But beauty is, I mean, we've all heard the phrase "beauty is in the eye of the beholder," and this is very much so, and that alone should jettison any idea that there's some sort of common agreement in beauty. You could say that there's a common agreement in the sense that the more symmetry someone has in their face, the more likely they're going to be perceived as beautiful, or if not beautiful, sort of attractive or desirable, as in people might want to look at them or something like that. But outside of that, I don't believe that outside of that sort of symmetry and health and fitness, beyond that, I don't think that there is a standard one. I remember, when as a young guy, not in college and not long out of high school, that sort of thing, or even in high school and last year high school, going out to bars and nightclubs, those sort of things. We go with a bunch of guys, and we would all look at like picking up the chicks thing. We'd all look at it differently. And one guy would say, like, tiny little Asian girls. Another guy would like women with blonde hair and freckles. Another guy would like taller women who are athletic, or another guy would like something else, and so on. So we all like something different, and all found something different. And sometimes these guys would date a girl for a while, and they come and oh, isn't she? She'd turn up, then she'd go maybe to get a drink at the bar or something, and the guy would say, "Oh, isn't she fantastic? Oh, she's so hot," and wow. And I used to think, wow, man, I don't think so. I didn't say that. The guy was over the moon, and good on him. But we perceive beauty and desirability and sexuality very differently, and so I don't think there was any social conditioning that certainly affected us. Now, there would be also there was a thing of it's all very well to see someone on TV or an advert or something like that, but it's very different when they're in front of you. I remember we were at an athletics meet, and there were a few of us. They were all guys, and a few of us there. A couple of them were commenting on how they wouldn't mind getting physical and horizontal with a couple of the girls running the 100 meters and all that sort of thing. And they were very fit girls. Obviously, they'd achieved a higher level of they're competing at the elite level, and so they come over, and one of them came over because knew someone in the group, or someone we knew came over, and these guys were all talking tough about what they were going to do. It just went to water. They just went to pieces when this girl came up, in her little running shorts and all that sort of stuff. And so it's all very well to have ideas about what you find desirable, attractive. It's another thing to be able to engage with in any way. Now, well, on the side, on the aspect of beauty, in the sense of you look at an advert and you think someone's got a perfect face for say cosmetics or something like that, got a perfect face, then if you're advertising your product and you want to put the best look on, of course you do that. I mean, what else are you going to do, for goodness sakes? So I think that's that doesn't represent some sort of social conditioning view on what beauty should or shouldn't be. Now, to go with the reverse and say, well, you have to accept that the maximum unattractive, you have to totally reverse any attitudes or beliefs or views or anything you might have had. And if someone's got 5 heads and 3 left arms, you must say that they're beautiful. You must accept they're beautiful. If you don't, you're a fascist Nazi Hitler. Now, that's quite patently absurd. They come back to the argument, these activists and so on, that, well, all human worth is equal. Okay, no, I'm fine with that. That's no problem. But we're talking about specifically talking about beauty, and when something's sort of unbeautiful, then it doesn't mean that they don't have the same human worth as beauty, but it will always be the case that will be a natural sort of primal urge for procreation will always be attracted to people who we think are most likely to successfully procreate or produce progeny, that are most likely to survive, so the fitness, the health, that sort of thing, and who are most likely to be able to look after themselves and do well and survive and all that sort of thing. So these are the issues surrounding, I think, the beauty side of it. Now, on other things like art and architecture, God knows why they want to attack that. The only reason they want to attack it is because these paintings and buildings and great architecture are done by white people. It's the only reason they're attacking it. Have you seen them attack anything that's not done by white people? Have you seen them say that all buildings in these third world shitholes are ugly or bad, or the people there are ugly and bad? They don't do that. So clearly it's something that's only directed at white people and crushing white society and white civilization, undermining any sort of confidence that white people have in themselves. Now, in terms of coming back to sort of the physical beauty thing, there are different ways. Say an attractive woman may want to marry an unattractive rich man, not because she thinks he's attractive, but his money and power compensates for his lack of good looks. So he doesn't have he's not much to look at, but the children will be well looked after financially. They'll have plenty of cozy jobs will be arranged for them. They'll have rich, wealthy trust funds paying out forevermore, and they'll live in their waterfront properties and drive fancy cars, all that sort of thing. So that's the payoff, and she gets to live a life of luxury while for some women I've spoken to, they can quite easily just close their eyes and think of the money, while some super unattractive dude is pouring them and fucking them and that sort of thing. I don't think I could do that. I mean, maybe I could. I don't think I could, but with a super unattractive rich woman or something, I don't think I could do it. But there you go. Now, beauty also is. In terms of looking at relationships, people might look for stability. They might look for reliable partners, dependable, who are always going to be there at the end of the day, who are always going to bring home their paychecks and not blow it in the casino or something, those sorts of things. So this is very much something that so they're not just factors like beauty in a sophisticated, complicated economic society, advanced society, which all the Western nations are. There are different reasons why people select partners, and it's not always beauty or excuse me, or related to beauty. There are other reasons. Again, things like stability. Now, one thing I noticed, I used to go to the United States a lot. I was probably once every 6 to 8 weeks or something like that for some years, and on business, and I was stunned at how often black women would come on to me, would hit on me. I was quite taken aback. So it could be airline stewardesses. I was in a like a store that sold sort of newspapers and magazines, that sort of thing, and the black woman in the shop so gave me this saucy look, and you want to take me out for a cocktail, and so I was quite sort of surprised. I stood there not knowing what to say or what to do, and I thought, I'm obviously not black, so what's the deal here? And a couple of the black people, like, say, you'd exchange and say, you talk to me just like I'm any other person. And I thought, well, why not? Doesn't everyone talk to you that way? No, they don't. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't realize that. So, but I was surprised at just how often that happened. And I asked, why? I'm not black. Why are you hitting on me for? You could, plenty of black guys around. Why you hit on them? And they would then start saying, well, black guys are just, all they want to do is fuck me. All they want to do is they're unreliable, they're unemployed all the time, they're always getting in trouble with the police or something like that. They're hopeless as partners. And if I want a reliable, dependable guy to have a relationship with, I got to go white guys. That's why I do it. And okay, well, that's one attitude. So they're ignoring their natural inclination to say, try and hit on black guys, and they're hitting on white guys for other reasons rather than what they may see as beauty or desirability. So again, there are many, many factors in how we see beauty and how we see it in any practical, realistic sense as we lead our lives and try and get through. But we shouldn't be under any illusion here. This idea of changing the whole basis of or attacking any basis of white beauty and anything to do with whiteness having any beauty, again, whether it be architecture or paintings or whatever, then we have to push back against that and call it out for what it is. It's just another assault on white civilization. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.